Is not an alien force already among us?
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
From some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe.
Welcome to S4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4, the official radio broadcast of Forest Moon Paranormal, with host Eric Cooper and our panel of enlightened minds. Coming to you live from FMP headquarters located in the heart of Skagit Valley, Washington, at the base of the majestic North Cascade Mountains. We will take you through a journey of exploration as we examine every aspect of the metaphysical. From spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, and conspiracies to grounding, protection, astral travel, and everything in between, leaving you with a better understanding and comprehension of the world around you, and the entities that inhabit it.
Join us every Saturday night at Spreaker.com and locally on KSVU 90.1. Don't forget to check out our new webpage at www.s-4radio.com.
Now sit back, open your mind, get ready. This is S4.
Good evening or morning, depending on where you are, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you live from FMP headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains in Concrete, Washington. FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings to alien interaction, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between is terrifying. S4 is the voice where we discuss these things in detail. Not only can you find S4 right here on Spreaker, but for our local listeners, also on KSVU 90.1 FM from 10 to 12 Saturdays with pre-recorded shows. So, tonight, it's the 25th of May. Now, for some of us, this is a somber weekend, as we remember those of us we have lost, whether in combat or today the issue is suicide derived from combat. So I also include that in my Memorial Day remembrances, as some of my veteran brothers have committed suicide due to what they've experienced. So our team tonight is a group of veterans, some of whom I've served with. Some are vets in Forest Moon Paranormal. Some are actually on the FMP team. We also have Francie, our FMP psych therapist, to discuss some of the aspects of what PTSD does to veterans and civilians. I want to clarify that. So PTSD isn't just specific to veterans. It's also, anyone can get PTSD from a car wreck, from a traumatic experience they've experienced. Combat-related PTSD is what we're specifying tonight. So we're also going to be discussing veteran issues that we deal with. So tonight with us, we have Chris and Brent Dodge from the FMP Extended Care and the Astral team. So Chris's family served in the military. Brent was the Naval Reserves, a Seabee. Eric Markham, our FMP scientist, is prior Navy. Don Davidson, I actually served with. He's an Army vet, and I served with in Iraq. And Steve Monchak may be on later. So how we all doing, guys?
I'm doing pretty well.
Doing
thank you.
good. Good.
Pretty good.
Outstanding.
Good, all things considered.
Exactly. And, you know, it's interesting that you even have to explain this. What Memorial Day is, everyone thinks it's Veterans Day. And there is a difference. I mean, obviously. Memorial Day is when we honor those that have gone before us, that have passed on, given the ultimate sacrifice. Veterans Day, that's for everybody. That's for all the veterans. But it doesn't disturb me as much as it's just like, really? Because most people, they hear Memorial Day, and what comes to mind is, oh, that's when the swimming pool opens up. Or that's when we're going to go camping. And, you know, two of the vets that I know that I asked to come on the show tonight, they are camping. And you'll find many veterans do go camping. And they go camping to get away. You know, but some of us, we actually live in the mountains, so we don't have to go far to get away. We live here. So it's going to be, and I'm going to clarify tonight too, this is the disclaimer. Normally we do watch our language on this show. Tonight, that rule is gone. Because once we actually start talking about some of these issues, I'm sorry, but the military language might come out. And I'm not going to censor that. This show, just if that comes out, we just won't put that on terrestrial radio. Simple as that. So, Marco, how long were you in the Navy?
Repeat that again, please.
How long were you in the Navy?
Oh, I did one hitch. I got stuck on an aircraft carrier right off the bat, and that sucked.
Right.
Plus, I got married while I was in, and, you know, the usual.
Right.
Of course, it dawned on me one day about 15 years ago or so that had I stayed in, I would be comfortably retired. Oh, well.
No, I hear you. And Don, you did 4 years, right?
I did 3 years in the active Army and then 3 more years before medically discharged out of the National Guard.
Okay. So you were active Army when we met in Iraq, I believe, weren't you?
Yeah, I was active Army then, yeah.
Yeah. And then you did 3 years National Guard after you got out?
Yeah, I got muster orders, thought I had to go in, and yeah, just like accidentally joined the National Guard. I thought I could just stick it to them, but yeah.
And what did they medically retire, or what did they medically discharge you for?
Back issues. I couldn't wear the body armor anymore.
Oh, God, yeah. Okay, I got you. That was enough. So you're talking it's mostly civilians that listen to us. So yeah, when we do talk military stuff, we do explain. And just for those that don't know, so the body armor alone, I believe, is an additional 20 to 30 pounds with the plates in.
Yeah, I think so.
And that doesn't count the additional plates, which is the groin cover, the neck cover, the arm covers. Then you've got the hydration system in the back. You've got, well, what's a combat load? A combat load, I believe, is 120 rounds.
It was 210. It was 7 magazines of 30 rounds apiece.
Yeah. in addition to...
At least it was for me.
Huh?
At least it was for me. I was like,
No, that's the general soldier's issue, if I remember right. And you're right. I believe it was 7 30-round magazines. So, and you're talking 5.56, so you're talking a good 5.6, 2 to 3 pounds per magazine. So then you're talking the Kevlar, which is another 5 pounds, easily. So yeah, when you're talking all that gear and you're running through 120 to 140 degrees, with boots, with uniform, it takes a strain on the body, whether it's knees, whether it's back, whether it's shoulders, whether it's feet. Those are the common disabilities, and we won't even talk about hearing. So, Brent, how long were you in
Yes, sir.
How long were you in the Seabees?
Actually, I think it was like a year and a half was all, because I lost my transportation, so I couldn't get down to the base. But I got to see Great Lakes and Everett.
Yeah.
Kind of bummed about that, but yeah. Would have actually loved to go somewhere and be deployed and really serve that way.
Right.
Yeah. But I guess there was a reason I didn't.
No, I wouldn't want to be in today. I gotta say, I miss it. I miss the military.
Yep.
For those that this might be your first time listening, I did 19 years, 6 months, and before they medically retired me, instead of letting me retire at 20, letting me do the additional 6 months to make my 20, they medically boarded me and tried to give me 10% and have a nice life, which I appealed. And it actually took, 1, going to JAG for an appeal, and 2, contacting Senator Murray here in Washington State, who opened up a complete investigation on Madigan Army Hospital, which eventually recalled every soldier that was diagnosed with PTSD or not diagnosed with PTSD for a reevaluation, and that happened 2 years later. By that time, I'd already overturned their ruling and been given 50% in TDRL, which is temporary medical retirement, which got overturned to full medical retirement, permanent, about 2 years later. So that's what they do, and that's actually quite common. They, instead of giving you retirement pay, they'd rather screw you over and get you out early, and hopefully you'll just turn over and say, okay, I guess that's okay. And you'll take their compensation pay and have a nice life. But no. And there's Keith. Keith, I know you're listening. We'll get you pulled in here at the top of the hour. And Keith is our FMP alien race specialist, and I'd like to hear his side of things as an Army brat. A Canadian Army brat, nonetheless, but an Army brat. Military brats are military brats. I had one. But she was only 11 when I was in. And they live an interesting life. When mom and dad, or just mom or dad, gets deployed, and they're stuck with one parent. So, Chris, was your family ever military when you were a child? And correction, Keith was Air Force. His dad was Air Force. And Chris, are you still with us? Brent, is Chris still with us?
Did we lose them both?
We lost them both last time.
Yeah, well, they're on the same phone,
Ah,
so I get that.
I knew they were in the same physical location.
So, Francie, have you ever worked with anyone with PTSD on the military side?
No, not on military. Most of my work was community mental health kinds of stuff, and I wasn't in the VA system, so. But PTSD is something that was okay. So, like, I've been in psychology and for a really long time, and honestly, PTSD in the 70s, they were just beginning to talk about it, and it has come so far as treatment and medications and just knowledge about it. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to prevent it. And it would be really a whole lot better to prevent it.
Well, I think, and I don't know, I think it's different for the military side on the aspect of a soldier that gets diagnosed with PTSD when he's actually still serving. There's a stigma attached to it that you're not masculine, you're not a real soldier if you are weak enough to say you've got PTSD.
That's the way it is in law enforcement, civilian law enforcement also.
And I think that's probably the closest parallel you could get for the civilian side is law enforcement. Because when you look at first responders in general, they're highly susceptible to PTSD due to the nature of their job, whether they're firefighters, EMS. But you're not going to see the stigma so much from other firefighters because they all see the same thing. But law enforcement and military are pretty close as far as the we got to go get the bad guy attitude.
Well, and there's you're in life and death situations in both things too, and you are relying on other people to keep you alive, and you don't want somebody that's compromised. I mean, I can understand that, but the problem with that is if you could treat it and make them more highly effective, and probably avoid a lot of the the fallout, the complications. But really, it's unfortunate because like the way that you mitigate and lessen PTSD in the field is you rotate people, you give them breaks, you let them talk, and who can do that? I mean, I'm not a military person, but I'm imagining that that's not real possible. Is it?
So what I find personally is it's easier for me to talk to someone that I know is a vet.
Oh yeah. Well, and that goes along with any kind of peer support. If you've got a peer counselor that's trained to listen and respond appropriately, they're way more effective than somebody that you don't have that camaraderie, and it's like a shorthand, a communication shorthand. You don't have to explain everything.
Right. I got called to oh God, what was it? So it was basically a poll type thing here locally. And it was a paid marketing survey that I actually had to go sit in. And they were pulling up 3 local medical facilities, and they're looking for marketing slogans. And one of the marketing slogans was, "We understand, and we're here to help." That's the last thing you want to tell me. And that's the last thing you want to tell any vet. You don't understand. Have you walked in my boots? Have you seen what I've seen? No, you haven't. That slogan right there, and I told them straight up, that slogan right there you don't want, because you don't want to tell anybody, especially a vet, that you understand. That's no. Would you agree, Don?
That makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I that's and I think it's the same with anybody that's gone through a specific trauma. Is you don't know what I've been through.
Right. Exactly. And that particular marketing slogan, they quickly put down. So I was diagnosed with, here's the interesting part. I was diagnosed with PTSD from Somalia back in 97. So I was in Somalia in 93. I went to an alcohol rehab in 95. No, 97. There we go. Because I was back in Germany in 95. And they diagnosed PTSD and survivor syndrome. But they never did anything.
Sounds about right.
You know, there was no treatment.
It has changed a lot since then.
Oh, yeah, it has. It has.
But and they probably didn't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole because they didn't want to be responsible for everybody that was traumatized.
So, in Desert Storm, there were soldiers that saw stuff, hands down. Me personally, I was in the Black Horse. I was in Doha, Kuwait. I was 21, and I think the scariest thing I saw or felt in that tour was the day that Saddam decided he was going to threaten another gas attack. Now, this was my first combat tour. And being 21, young, in the Army for probably about a year and a half, 2 years. And I've got to wear my gas mask at my side everywhere I go. I've got to have my gear, my MOP 4 gear, within a 2-minute reach. And that was about the most terrifying I probably felt in that tour. So 91 to 93, 93 I went to Somalia. Somalia was pure hell. Everyone in my unit ETS'd. Everyone in my unit that went to Somalia got the hell out. And probably about 60% roughly went back in just like I did. They needed a break. But guaranteed, 100% of my unit had PTSD from Somalia. If you saw Black Hawk Down, it took me 3 years to watch that movie.
Here's another interesting thing. The human brain does not develop completely until you're about 30. Therefore, people over 30 are better equipped to deal with traumatic situations than people that are younger. And yet, we send young soldiers into battle. And adolescents are most at risk for PTSD, along with women. Women and adolescents are more at risk. And then as you get older, it gets less and less because your brain actually kind of matures and develops, and you're more equipped to deal with that kind of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster to send young people.
Well, and that's so. If you're 16, you can get into the military with parental consent, but the military will not deploy you until you're 18. So, my unit went to Iraq, and we had a 17-year-old, and they would not deploy her with us until she turned 18. Her 18th birthday, they had her on a plane. But she was excited. She wanted to go. She was mad when they said no. Because, there's that camaraderie that your friends are leaving you behind. You want to deploy when you've got friends in that unit. And so before I could go to Doha, Kuwait, they weren't going to take me because I'm an only child. And I was pissed. And my commander said, I'll let you go if you raise your right hand and you swear. And you swear your rights as an only child to, sole survivor to go with us. And I did, gladly. Same thing happened for Somalia with the 514th Ambulance Company. My commander said, no, I can't take you. You're a sole survivor. If you're a sole survivor, why the hell are you going to let me in the military if I can't deploy with my friends? But again, I just raised my right hand and I went, and I do it again. Traumatic or not, I would do the same thing all over again. But they diagnosed PTSD and survivor syndrome in 97. Didn't do anything for it. Bosnia popped up, and they gave me the option of whether or not I wanted to go. I had a good motor sergeant. So I was a combat medic from 90 to 94. Got out, and when I came back in 95, I had to switch my MOS, or my job. So I switched my MOS to truck mechanic.
Define MOS for us.
That is military occupational specialty. So everybody goes to boot camp, basic training. Everybody is taught infantry skills in basic training. But if you want to be 11 Bravo, which is the MOS for infantry, the military occupational specialty, you have to go to Fort Benning, which is infantry school. And that's where you learn specialized infantry tactics. Infantry school. So as a medic, I went to Fort Sam Houston for 10 weeks to become a medical specialist, which can either work in a hospital or work in a line unit, infantry unit, whatever the case is. And so I was never put in a hospital. I was always frontline, so I was a combat medic. Whether it was cavalry, I was Black Horse, 11th Armored Cavalry as a medic. I was 514th Ambulance Company as a medic. Now, as an ambulance company, think of MASH. Some people don't like it when I say that, but think of MASH. So you got mobile field hospitals. And the ambulances that run around bringing in patients to that hospital are a completely separate unit. That's what an ambulance company would be. In fact, that particular unit that was based on MASH was a sister company to the unit I was in. And they were based out of Korea. So in Somalia, we were broke down by platoons. Each platoon had, or each squad had, I believe it was 3 ambulances. You had a driver and a TC, or a troop commander, truck commander. And they were going to be, that was the person that was actually working on the patient in the back of the ambulance. So we had an engineer unit that was building roads across Mogadishu and off into the jungle. They needed medics. So they would submit a request to our unit. They would send however many ambulances they needed to be tasked to that unit. And that's how we were basically scattered out. Personally, I was
what kind of shifts did you work? I mean, like, what kind of time, time time off.
So, in an ambulance company, there is no time off. When you're in a combat zone, there is no time off as a medic. Now, you might have downtime in between patients.
But it's not scheduled. You don't know that you've got the next 5 hours off.
Not at all. You're on call 24/7.
I carried a pager for 12 years. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Not really. I'm teasing, but
no, we had downtime.
That's really wrong. That is a stress. I mean, that is a stress.
And I can't even imagine what they go through today in Afghanistan, in Iraq, just as medics, because my job in Iraq. Now, I'd switched MOSs, so I was a truck mechanic. I worked in maintenance for a signal unit. Now, the signal unit I was in was responsible for all communications, nodes, telephones, internet, satellite communication across the entire theater, which means across the entire country of Iraq. So as maintenance, we were responsible for maintaining and making sure all the vehicles that were running that equipment were operational. Now, on top of that, so I was an E5. I was a sergeant. I had soldiers I was responsible for. I had, maintenance missions I was responsible for. We had details, we had tower guard, we had, you've got designated time off with that MOS. Depending on which section you're in. Now, if you're like in the recovery section, then you're going to be on call to go outside the wire, wherever there's a broke down truck with your wrecker, pick them up and bring them back in. But we didn't have medics. Now, we were in BLOD, so I did BLOD January 04 to January 05. Telefar, I can't talk tonight. Telefar was November 05 to October of 06. We had a 7-month break and we knew we were going back. And correct me if I'm wrong, Don, I think you probably saw pretty much the same crap. You see the same units and the same soldiers getting pulled over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And you see some units, they don't get sent anywhere. It was
kind of heavy on that. Yeah.
I was appalled. So I was sent to the Warrior Transition Battalion in 2008 and medically retired in 2010. Basically, my battalion was going back for their third tour to Iraq, and my commander said, "No, you've already done 4 combat tours. You're done. I don't want you to have to go back again. I want you to go retire." He was a good commander. Of course, when you're talking about training your soldiers how to kill, that kind of makes them get a little bit worried. Yeah, so I went to the WTB. I was supposed to retire, and because I had that 7-month break, that 7 months didn't count towards retirement. And okay, it looks like we lost Markham. So again, instead of letting me retire, they said, "Oh no, you've been here long enough. We're going to med board you." So again, when it was all said and done, I have 19 years 6 months. I'm short of retirement by 6 months, which is okay because VA picked me up at 100%. To me, it's whatever, as long as I'm taken care of, and I am. Had I not been taken care of, and I should have gotten that $1,300 a month for a retirement pension, I'd be probably a little more upset. So, Don, do you take care of?
Yeah, I got 100% on the VA.
Okay. And, it's interesting because every state VA system handles their veterans differently. Like, I believe it's at 40% you can get your disability hunting and fishing license. I'm not sure if that's just through Washington State or if that's national.
I believe I can do that here in California as well.
Okay. Hold on a sec here. So, on the federal side, you can get 50% off your federal camping. On the Washington State side, you get free camping at state parks. So, stuff like that. I know every state's got their own perks for their veterans, which is cool. But I get concerned about the mental health side because we lose 22 veterans a day to suicide.
There's not enough. And up until just about 3 or 4 years ago, the VA they only employed PhD. Okay, so you can be a counselor with a MS degree, a master's degree in a master's degree of science, and you can be a counselor. But if you're in psychology, you have to get a PhD, basically, to work. And so the VA was, they were only hiring people with PhD in psychology until just recently. And there were so many counselors like me who wanted to work with vets, but they couldn't get hired. It's that old bureaucracy stuff.
And that's what pisses me off. There shouldn't be bureaucracy when it comes to veterans' health.
I agree.
That's unacceptable. And, so I'm probably going to piss some people off in this show, and it's not meant to. It's not meant to go politics, but it's going to be politics because, well, frankly, it's disgusting. And I'm reading the chat real quick. But let me define, and I know we're jumping around, but we're going to jump around and we'll cover all the topics we need to. But, Don, what's the definition of a war crime to you?
Doing things that would go against the Army Code of Values, Code of Conduct, something that would, I guess, be. Well, I've never been asked that before. So something that would just basically, if you know what's wrong and you're doing it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Geneva Convention?
Yeah. But we're just breaking the law in every which way.
I'm not even going to touch the Geneva Convention side of it. I'm going to touch the common sense and if it goes against, combat is combat. Combat can be unforgiving. Combat can be unpredictable. When it comes to bureaucracy, like you said, and politics, they don't belong in war. So, for example, in 0405 in Balad, our rules of engagement. So, rules of engagement is basically those written regulations that tell you what to do in specific circumstance. For example, you're in a convoy and you see an insurgent or an Iraqi setting up an explosive beside the road, and they engage you. You engage back. That's what rules of engagement determines. In 0506, in Telfar and across Iraq, the rules of engagement change. Now you take that same scenario. You're supposed to stop the convoy, detain the Iraqi, call in EOD, which is explosive ordnance disposal, disable the explosive, and basically let the insurgent go. Do you remember that, Don?
Wow.
Sorry. Say again?
Do you remember those rules of engagement?
Yeah.
So basically,
I remember having a...
Basically, they're slapping us in the face. We've got to win their hearts and minds, so we're not going to detain them. We're going to let them go. To do it again.
Oh, my God.
So, to me, a war crime would not be engaging. Because when it comes to the insurgent and they don't want they're setting up explosives to kill us, and they don't want to be detained or, grabbed, you do what you got to do. Now, the war crimes that are being let loose, the war criminals that are being pardoned, that's not the case. These are people like the staff sergeant, like we were discussing before the show, that left the base, went into the nearest Afghanistani village, kicked open doors, and needlessly slaughtered families. That's not rules of engagement. That's not following your mission. That's a war criminal. Abu Ghraib. Who remembers Abu Ghraib?
Everyone raised their hand.
So, I was in Balad when Abu Ghraib happened. And albeit I would say those weren't necessarily war criminals because of what they did. They were stupid, needless to say. But when that particular incident of stacking Iraqi prisoners up naked in a pyramid and getting your picture taken with them,
unnecessary.
It still kind of goes against the Geneva Convention in that it violates human rights. But that day that news story broke and that the pictures got released was a day in Iraq that I'm pretty sure anyone that was there at that time won't forget, because there were more attacks in Iraq than I think there were for a while, because that pissed off the Iraqis. When you're talking waterboarding, when you're talking torture tactics that go above and beyond, that are CIA approved, those should be war criminals. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, so Izzy, my mate, tagged me in a post where it said Trump, for Memorial Day, was going to pardon war criminals. And the responses to that amazed me. Because there's like 500 responses to this post, and I expected people to be going, really? War criminals? Oh, hell no. That should never happen. These are soldiers that were convicted by a jury of their peers, for one. You're slapping those soldiers in the face, for one, and saying they were wrong for, putting them in prison. They don't know what they're talking about. But the responses that I was reading were by probably a majority of civilians going, "Oh, thank God. You're doing such a good thing, President Trump, because they should never be put in prison. They're wearing our uniform and protecting us." No, they weren't. They were war criminals for a reason. They were put in prison for a reason. That shows ignorance to me. And even when I posted, in response, look, those are war criminals. Those aren't soldiers. They're war criminals that need to be. They're the worst of the military. They were arrested for a reason. They were convicted by a jury of their peers. And, oh, you're anti-American. You need to leave my country. Excuse me? I did 4 combat tours. This is my country more than yours. But it's appalling to me. What's your thoughts, Don?
I think it's completely ill-advised to do that, because that's just going to open up a precedent. Like, are we going to start pardoning them like we pardon the turkeys every year? You know what I mean? Like, is this going to become a thing where every Memorial Day a president pardons a war criminal?
Oh, that's a great analogy. Yeah. Oh. And, I believe it was SEAL Team 6, was one of the war criminals from SEAL Team 6, or one of the SEAL teams, was one of the war criminals he was going to pardon. And it was his own team that put him in prison.
Really? That's interesting.
So it's just, and this is the weekend that we remember those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. And you're going to pardon criminals. That's not remembering the ultimate sacrifice. That's not giving honor to soldiers or the military. That's saying the military doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, Brant, you still with us?
Yep, he's right here.
I am.
Okay. So what's your thoughts on that? I understand you served 2 years. You're still a vet.
Yeah. It's hard for me to consider myself one, but...
No, you're still a vet. You served.
No, thank you. I just didn't. I'm not sure exactly, because... I mean, if you do something wrong, yeah, you should pay no matter who you are. You do the crime, do the time, no matter anything.
That's right. Chris.
No.
Chris.
Oh, you want my thought on it? Oh,
No,
I think that every single president should have military backgrounds.
Yes.
No questions.
Yes.
And I agree with
That's
that.
my personal opinion. So they'd know how to run the country. They'd know what involves the fighting. They would understand the sacrifices that military personnel go through, the hardships. You need somebody in that office to run this country that understands the military.
Yes.
And on this situation of letting these people go, they disrespected the uniform, in my opinion, when they made these criminal actions. So, no, don't let them out. Nope.
Now, so before you guys dropped, I asked you a question, but you didn't hear it because you guys dropped. So, were you a military child? Was your family in the military when you were a child, or were they out after as you were growing up?
My father got out of the military when I was 2.
Okay.
So, He was 18 and a half years, and he was in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And he also, which we find kind of strange, because way back then, they would always at least let one of the boys stay home. And it was him and his twin brother, and they were both taken in the military. And my dad came back from one of his missions, and his brother didn't. So not only did he lose his twin, but he told me some stories. I couldn't get a lot out of him. He didn't talk a lot. And Francie, this is one question I kind of have that I never understood. He would always sit after all three of those wars. He would always sit and watch war stories, and I never understood that. Never could.
It's a way of catharsis. I mean, it's a way of releasing feelings in a way.
Ah, okay.
That's appropriate. Like you can get excited at movies and you can get angry at movies, and it's socially appropriate.
Okay. Yeah, I'd have school reports, and I couldn't get the information from him, so I didn't push it. Didn't push it at all. But He told me something. I got a couple German medals here that he took off of him, and got to bring something back, I guess. But Agent Orange actually took his life. So.
Yeah. Another issue. And so I equate the modern day version of Agent Orange, and I'm not putting us in the same category as your dad by any means. Mm-hmm. But right now they have the burn pit registry. Are you in the burn pit registry, Don?
No, I'm not.
You need to get on the burn pit registry.
Will you explain that?
I'm about to. So, in Iraq and in Somalia and in Afghanistan, I know they have burn pits there as well. So a burn pit was kind of like a civilian equivalent to the landfill. But the burn pit on all the bases, they were allowed to burn pesticides. They were allowed to burn paint. There were depleted uranium rounds in some of the burn pits. And if the EPA would have had any control over anything that happened in foreign countries, it would have been shut down. Bottom line, this is smoke that we were breathing.
Yeah, I remember. Especially, it's not even just the trash either. But yeah, I remember just watching that stuff float into me and my buddies' faces all the time.
When is something going to actually be done to take care of these military personnel? Things like that shouldn't be happening.
I don't think it ever will be with corrupt politicians we've got.
Well, then, Eric, I vote for you to be president.
Yeah. My professor wants me to run. Not for president, but my professor wants me to run for political office. And I told him I don't do politics. No, that's not going to happen. But, and I'm going to be fair here and say, even if Hillary would have won, none of that would have changed.
No. You're right. You're absolutely right.
It doesn't matter if it's a Democrat or if it's a Republican. The fact of the matter is Democrats have always kept us out of war. The Republicans have always sent us into war. But neither party is ever going to fix the situation. Neither party...
Because corporations make money off wars.
Oh, I could tell you horror stories about Dick Cheney. And we probably will tonight. we're getting close to the top of the first hour, so we'll just kind of ramble for a minute, and then we'll go to commercial break. I'll pull Keith in. I think Markham is gone. And I have to pull Steve in. So we'll have Steve and Keith joining us after this first hour. But Dick Cheney...
Does anybody... Oh.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just curious, does anybody know the last president that had any type of military experience?
I think, and I may be wrong, I'd have to research it, but I do think Bush Sr. was actually National Guard or something of that nature. I know Bush Jr., they tried to claim he did, but he didn't. I think you'd have to go back quite a ways.
See, and I don't understand.
One does.
I do too, because, there's at least 4 branches of the military. Look at how many military personnel there are in the United States. You need somebody in there that understands what they go through. I mean, this is getting ridiculous.
And has the character, discipline, and training behind them.
Yeah.
One of the problems is the ones that have had military were, they weren't real military. I mean, their daddies got them cush jobs, and they were, like the second George Bush was a pilot. At least his daddy was a combat pilot and knew a little bit about it. The second George Bush was just a flyboy, kind of a poster child for yuppie inbreeding. What happens if your daddy used to be head of the CIA?
Right.
Yeah.
Now
there's been very few, there's been very few presidents that had military experience that actually had the boots on the ground, eating rats to survive type military experience.
Yeah.
No.
I know Grant was. Yeah.
Now, getting to, I don't want to make this a political bashing show either. And it's really hard because we don't have a viable answer. But instead of draining the swamp, as he said he was going to, he's actually filled the swamp because there is no solid VA leader.
No.
I haven't seen a VA doc in about 4 years. I was supposed to go 4 years ago say again? Oh, I thought someone said something. I was supposed to go for my VA physical 4 years ago, and I got a letter from the VA clinic here that said, your doctor moved to Seattle. He's not here anymore. You need to go find a civilian doctor. So I went to 2 docs, and both of them said, oh, we don't deal with veterans. And they were both in Cedar Woolley. One of them, the first one actually, without even saying a word, said, oh, I don't deal with veterans. And he walked out without even a goodbye. The second one said, he at least apologized and said, I'm really sorry, but there's nothing I can do for you. You've got PTSD, and I don't deal with veterans. And he left. I finally found a doc that I saw for about a year, and his clinic closed down, and they moved him to the Cedar Woolley emergency room as a trauma doc. So, again, I'm covered by VA. I've my pills, my PTSD meds are covered and whatnot. But that's our VA for you.
Sure, Eric, you want my opinion on this? I think that the military personnel, the day that they are sworn in to the military to work for the government, should be taken care of the rest of their lives.
I agree.
It used to be that way, didn't it? I mean...
Because this VA is not helping.
And on that note, we will come back to our discussion. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have Keith, we'll have Cole, and we'll have Steve, hopefully. So, stay tuned.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro. Join us on September 28th at the Cedar-Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
All right, welcome back. Oh, trying to call people in here, and yeah. So we're back. But you know what? Tonight is a very laid-back show compared to our normal shows because we're talking about some pretty sensitive topics here. And with us, we've got Cole. Do we have Keith?
Hi.
I guess Keith didn't make it in. Okay. We'll try to get him in next hour, the last hour of the show. So, how is the Canadian government when it comes to veterans of the Canadian military, Cole?
We treat them like crap, unfortunately.
Better than the U.S.?
No, I wouldn't say so. Per capita, I would say we have more homeless veterans than the U.S. does, like per person, like active service member or active veteran. You know what I mean?
So I want to address that since you brought it up. So homeless veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Homeless veterans are a unique topic, and we have homeless veterans for two reasons. And some of them, not all, but some of them I wouldn't call homeless veterans. I would call them houseless veterans. You know, I've met a couple up here in upriver. They don't want a house. They don't want to live in a city. They live in the woods. And they choose that. They're not on drugs. They don't drink. But they don't like people. And completely understandably so.
Yeah, I can understand that. We suck.
And the only time they have issues is when winter comes. And I can speak personally on one. I'm not going to say a name. I'm not going to give any details. But I ran into him. And he liked living in the woods. He came back. He had health issues. And it was getting extremely cold. So we helped him find an apartment. We got him to the right resources. And he was taken care of. So that's the first phase of homeless veterans. The other veterans that everybody despises because they're just nothing but tweakers and druggies and they're drinking all the time. That's called self-medication. Those are the veterans that should be taken care of by the VA. Should be diagnosed and given the help they need. They wouldn't be on drugs. They wouldn't be drinking like fish and causing problems. And they wouldn't be homeless.
Right.
So, is it wrong that they're homeless? Hell yeah, it is. They need to be taken care of. And there's a high majority of them, or a high percentage of them. And VA has gone to the extent of asking you in a questionnaire when you go to the VA clinic, are you homeless? Now, if you say, yeah, I don't know what they do, they put you on a housing list. They put you over at Friendship House or some other, or do they just want numbers? So they can say, oh, look, we have 11 billion homeless vets and we need a bigger budget. And they do nothing. I don't know. I don't have a viable answer.
My dad has just started going into the VA system. He found that finally, at 84, he found out he was actually eligible. And I have to say, his experience at the VA hospital there in Asheville, North Carolina, they treat him good. It's just amazing how I did not expect the level of caring that he's gotten. Of course, the alternative in this area is HCA Columbia, and I wouldn't let them. They're just awful. They bought out Mission St. Joseph, and the first thing they did, fired about half the lab and half the x-ray techs, cut nursing down to where they can't do their job, because HCA is a for-profit hospital. But the VA is they've really stepped up their game, at least in this area.
And that's the point. That's you're exactly right. It depends on the state. I've heard great stories from, I can't remember the specific states, but I've heard great stories about this state. Their VA hospital takes great care of their vets. That's good to know. And then you hear about the other states. Oh my God, they turn you away. Oh my God, they don't talk, and they've misdiagnosed, and they've given me the wrong medication. You hear horror stories. It depends on where you're at. And I think it depends.
So you get that with non-VA medicine. I see that crap happen right here in my emergency room every day.
Exactly.
They'll run up if somebody comes in with a urinary tract infection, next thing you know, they're doing every test we can on that patient, and it's all negative. It was like, okay, you found the UTI. What are you going? Why are we doing all this other stuff? Medicine in this country is really screwed up. As somebody that's been in it for going on 24 years now, I've just seen the standards plummet.
And what were you going to ask, Chris?
Why is it state to state? It should be federal. I guess this topic just irritates.
Well, it should be federal. I completely agree.
Yeah.
And that's so. I'm going to change the topic a little bit, but it's actually parallel. Because, so what I'm studying right now in my class, in my school, is critical infrastructure. And you get, until an event happens. So when 9/11 happened, for example, everybody jumped on we need more federal support. We need more federal oversight. The federal government needs to step up and take our privacy away in place of security. You heard that. And that's why they came up with the Patriot Act and the Department of Homeland Security. But the problem is everyone seems to have forgotten 9/11. At least on the emergency management side and at least on the security policy side. They forgot. Americans that were there, oh no, they'll never forget 9/11. The general public, some of them, will never forget 9/11. A lot of us will never forget 9/11. And we're not going to go into the quote-unquote conspiracy side. Most of us know it was allowed to happen. And that's not even a conspiracy. That's in my intelligence textbooks. The intelligence community knew when, where, and why, and how, and who it was going to make it happen. And many of them got fired for reporting it. So but nonetheless, we have critical infrastructure today that is in dire need. This country is very weak because of the critical infrastructure that's not being taken care of. And part of that is because the private sector is responsible for that. And because the private sector is responsible for that, meaning corporations that are making billions off your bills to maintain that infrastructure, they're not worried about security because it's not going to happen here. Yeah. We forgot about 9/11, didn't we? We forgot about the potential extremists and terrorists that are in this country that are not Muslim, that would love to destroy this infrastructure. So
because somebody's only worried about a wall.
Well, yeah. And
there's a lot of terrorists and there's a lot of crap coming across that border. So I think, playing devil's advocate here, I think we do need some kind of control on our borders.
But
as a person with a master's degree in history and a lot of time hitting the books, I can tell you that we're about stage 3 and the 4 stages that lead to the collapse of a civilization. We no longer, our politicians are completely out of touch with the constituency, and people have abdicated their responsibility. They just vote the ticket, or they don't do their own research, that whatever the latest, talking head on TV tells them to believe in, they believe in. They don't look past it. We've lost control of our borders. We're probably one nasty, turn of the card away from our currency being devalued to the point where it's not worth wiping your butt with. It's a fiat currency. And our kids are running rampant because both parents are having to work to pay off all the damn taxes and bullshit. I see better than $1,000 of my check goes, so some sorry-ass piece of shit without a job can drive around in a nicer car than I have and get free food. So, hey, as far as I'm concerned, this country needs to collapse.
It does. It needs more control.
And I'm not going to argue with you, Trump. I'm not going to argue with you about the wall. I agree. But here's the problem. A wall by itself will do absolutely nothing. If we can have Area 51 totally secure, nobody can step on Area 51. You can take the same damn technology. There is no wall around Area 51. Have you ever noticed that? Yet nobody can step on Area 51. Why is that?
Right.
So what happens if you do breach? What does happen?
You will be
I've
killed.
never been there, so
there is security that will come and kill you.
Yeah. Well,
there are
on how
also,
far you get.
When it comes to technology, there are seismic detectors. There is technology that we can have on that border. I agree. You need some kind of a barrier. But just throwing a wall up there, they're going to throw a stair step on the other side and just climb on over it.
Well, that's the bad thing is they had that one piece of wall that the Navy SEAL couldn't get over. Okay, if a Navy SEAL can't get through it, that's a damn good wall, and they're not going with that. So the wall's going to be about like a sieve. They'll dig under it if they don't put any kind of seismic sensors.
Right.
I mean, you got a lot. You're talking about homeless veterans and veterans without any kind of, they need something. Why not make a border patrol using the, give these veterans that maybe they're disabled, maybe they lost a leg, they're not combat ready, except in their hearts and spirits. Put them in charge of the border. I'll bet you can close that leak off real quick.
Yep.
Here's the other issue that was brought up last week, as a matter of fact. So we're all hell-bent on a wall. And agreed. We do need to stop immigrants from coming into this country until we can actually get a grip on our own country. I'm not saying no immigrants. I'm saying stop the immigrants, have them get legal status. But we need to maintain our own damn country before we can get more people here. We got homeless people on the streets.
I think we need to change our immigration laws.
Oh, hands down.
Wouldn't it be a good idea to have the same kind of laws that Canada has, so they can't play one country against the other? If we, Canada has, like, if you want to immigrate, you either have to have a sufficient amount of money, you have to buy property, you have to have a job that you're going to, and then you can get a visa, and after you are there for a certain amount of time working, then you can apply for citizenship. It's like, and they only let in certain people, like they want specific professions, so they put an emphasis on bringing those folks in.
Yeah, but that's backfired on Canada too.
Has
Yes,
it?
it
So
has.
tell me how.
Okay, so
Oh my, yeah.
there have been a lot of companies that have hired staff from other countries, such as
So they kind of gamed it.
A lot of Indians.
South Asia.
Like
South
from
Asia.
Southeast Asia. A lot of Indians, Hindus.
So what's going on though is these companies are hiring these guys. They are putting them in staff housing. So they are signing off on them being in this country. These people live in horrible conditions. There are 10 people to a house made for 2. And they do that for 4 years, work horrible shifts, get hardly any pay because their rent is taken out, their food is taken out, everything's taken out of their paycheck. They hardly
That's like
make anything.
indentured servants.
And
Like,
at the end of that 4 years, they're thrown off in, once they have their citizenship, they're thrown off into Canada, and most of them end up homeless.
Because they don't have any skills. They haven't made community.
Once you're a citizen, you no longer have to accept those conditions.
Yeah.
So if you think they can break off from that company and go make decent money and have a decent life in a country that is supposed to be providing that, and they can't. There's not enough actual jobs that they were trained in because they're chefs, they are hotel staff, they are janitors. Like these companies are paying the Canadian government to allow them to do this. It's like there is honestly no immigration system that is perfect.
Well, what Canada is doing, they're doing it officially where we are doing it unofficially. You know, if you go by, okay, I have to drive through a road construction area on my way to visit my father, take care of him. There is not a single non-Mexican person working on that project. Now, this is somebody who bid to the government, lowest bidder, and is using illegal immigrant labor. They're a slave force, basically. They're a slave population. They make low wages, but they've learned to game the system. You know, a lot of times the woman won't take the man's name. He works, gets paid under the table cash. She gets tapped into the welfare system, gets housing assistance, gets food stamps, gets all this stuff, especially, and they know how to game the local religious charities, because my dad used to volunteer at one. He literally caught this in the morning. This woman came in with 2 kids, claimed, you know, no husband, starving, got 2 kids. Later in the afternoon, a different woman showed up with the same 2 kids.
So and that's an abuse of the system.
Yeah, and they're gaming the system, and you can't blame them, because hey, if this country is stupid enough to give our taxpayer money, the safety net that was supposed to be for its citizens, to illegals, they deserve it. You know, I used to hate. You know, I used to just absolutely loathe these people.
How are they eligible?
Then it occurred to me.
What are they eligible for?
They get food stamps. They get
can't.
how the hell
If
they
they're illegal,
can't.
they can't.
They do.
Oh yeah. They get those fake immigration cards.
No, they don't even do that. They don't even do that. The libtards have taken over in this state so bad that the bleeding hearts. It's like they go around. They give them to them. They are not entitled. They don't even have a green card. They don't have even fake ID. But because, face it, you can't fight Santa Claus when it comes election year. And they don't even have a voter ID. You know, I have to have ID to buy beer. I have to have ID to buy a gun. I have to have ID to drive my car. But it's it's unfair to expect somebody to have proper ID to vote.
Sure.
They finally cleared up. I forgot how many thousands of names off our voters logs here, mostly Democrats, that have been dead for over 150 years. People have been voting in North Carolina that have been dead over 100 years. They're finally cleaning up the rolls, but every time a voter ID bill comes before the North Carolina House, or the House and Senate, it gets defeated because a loud vocal minority says, well, that's unfair. Of course, on Election Day, they're bringing busloads of unregistered illegal aliens to voting stations to skew the elections. I mean, face it, folks, this country, they do. I've seen it myself.
Yep, there's a lot of things.
Okay, do you live here? Yes. Well, it turns out that this address, they found in this state 175 undocumented, illegal aliens voted in on one precinct. They all had the same address, and it was I think it was Acorn. It was some social justice type of organization. 175 people all registered to the same address, because they don't ask for your ID anymore. They just say, do you live here? Yes. Okay, and they give you your ballot. There's no control
we have to have
over
something with like a bill with our street address on it.
Yeah, well, they'll give them something with an address. An address doesn't prove citizenship. But every time they try and make a voter bill, a voter identification bill, where you can't vote if you don't have some kind of legal, identification card, it's a very flawed system.
Here, you can't even get a library card unless you have a bill, a legal bill, like a power bill, an actual utility bill with your name and your address on it.
That's the way it is here too for library.
But that's it. You can generate a bill, or you can generate something like that easily without proving who you are. We need to just, can the politics on this. Here's the problem. The liberal Democrats want these people in here because they give them everything they can give them, legally or not, and that's a lifelong Democratic voter. The Republicans and the conservatives want them in this country because they work cheap. They work cheaper than, thank God you have to be licensed to do my job, or I'd probably be replaced by somebody that was standing in front of Home Depot the morning before.
Mm-hmm.
These people are being used, and they've sold themselves cheaply.
Okay, Tim is in the chat room. He says, okay, wasn't it in North Dakota where a Republican turned in absentee ballots and the election was overturned?
I don't remember. Oh, it's not strictly, I'm not saying it's strictly a Democratic thing. When it comes to some piece of crap that doesn't want to work for a living, trying to stay in office, they'll do anything.
Well, to start with, we need to get rid of Congress and make Congress a damn term limit, like it's supposed to be anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should not be. You should not have these people in there for 30, 40, like what Strom Thurmond was over 100 years old, had been in Congress for 80 years or something.
And making millions.
Yeah.
You should.
They're all millionaires. They don't go in millionaires.
Millionaires on jobs that don't pay $1 million. Yeah. You're taking a job that pays, $300,000, doing 2 terms and coming out a multimillionaire? The math don't work. That's just, it's obvious that there's corruption. But and we need to, there's a revolving door. they make their contacts, they do their, maybe 12, 14 year, or they retire out of that, and they go right into being lobbyists.
Well, that's the thing. Being a politician is not a career choice.
It shouldn't be, but it's developed into one.
That's part of the problem right there.
Well, another part of the problem is that people don't. Okay, we all pretty much will say, "Oh, I hate politicians." Well, what they're discovering when they do a poll, yeah, we all hate politicians, but we like our own. It's like, we like the crook that we keep putting in office. It's everybody else that's putting a different crook in office that we don't like that guy or that one.
I don't like any of them on
I don't
either
either.
side.
I don't either. I mean, if I could push a button and make them all, pretty much all evaporate painlessly into the ether, I would not hesitate. I'd rather have anarchy than what we got. At least with anarchy, it would eventually be a self-correcting system.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why we need veterans in office.
Yep.
Agreed.
No, I'm not one of
them. Yes, you are.
Now, here's the deal, and here's the problem I do have. And I agree it should be a veteran running for president. I agree to an extent. But when you have a veteran, you're talking PTSD. You're talking a lot of issues. And if you don't take your meds, you're going to be liable to push that button. That would be my problem.
Well, do you think that the vetting process and the campaigning process would eventually weed that out? I mean, it wasn't.
We need to psych
who was that
test
guy that went
people.
ape crap? Well, you can get around psych tests, though. You can fake your way through a psych test. I mean, I can sit down and take a psych test, and I can prove I'm the most sanest person in the room, or I can manipulate it to where they try and put a dog collar, haul me off in a straitjacket. I can do it either way. If you get somebody that's a sociopath that runs for the office, and I think there's been a few, and they can game the system. Just what it is, people have to quit being locked into a political ideology.
Tribalism.
And this needs to be then it's not going to happen because people can't. I think the system's so far broken that it can't be fixed except by something cataclysmic.
Either a civil war or a revolution.
Well, I think they're pushing us toward a civil war. You see this last batch of people that got elected in there. We've obviously forgotten 9/11 when you've got a couple Muslim Congress people, advocating cutting kids' throats in Philadelphia and singing songs about beheading the infidel in Philadelphia. Yes, look that up. You've got some of these people that have been elected into office that 10 years ago, when 9/11 was still fresh in our mind, they wouldn't have made it through the primary. It's like and there's a school where they actually made all the girls wear hijabs to go on a field trip. And they're actually forcing children in grade schools to observe Muslim religious practices.
Yep, I've heard of that.
There's I didn't believe it. I dug a little deeper, and holy crap, it's true.
Yep,
and
I heard it.
We're pushing. They're trying to take away. You have a couple of these freshman congresswomen that the first thing they want to do is take away, repeal the Second Amendment. Well, good luck getting mine.
Right.
Because I will go down fighting. But first you disarm a populace, and then you can do whatever you want.
And Markham, they push that religion, but they take the Pledge of Allegiance away.
Yeah.
Something wrong with that picture.
Oh yeah. There's no defense for Christianity in this country anymore. And I'm not a practicing Catholic, but I was brought up Catholic, and there's always that little voice in the back of your head. But I mean, Christianity in this country has been kicked into the garbage, but we're allowing this Middle Eastern ideology, and more or less forcing it down people's throat. It's politically incorrect to be a Christian, but boy, if you want to be a Muslim extremist, hey, come on, come to our country. We'll let you set up your own damn. Yes,
but that's just the belief in the. That can be. When I said it and still think about it, you think about the words. That's really supporting the country, believing in the flag, and so they're pushing Muslim now over the flag. That's ridiculous.
Well, they're pushing Islam over Christianity.
Yep.
What happened to separation of church and state? There shouldn't be any religion being pushed over any.
That's true, but what they will do is they'll try and have it both ways. They'll say, "Oh, that's separation of church and state. You can't do that because it's Christian school, Christian ideology." But then they'll support and subsidize Islam. I'm telling you, people, you might think I'm being a bit extreme here, but if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, our children will see a religious war, a civil war in this country. Yeah. I think at this point, things are so broken that the only thing that's going to save it is if the military gets off their asses, takes over, just let's hit a reset button and rebuild the republic.
And I agree.
We are not a democracy by our Constitution. We are not a democracy. We're a republic. We're a representative republic.
You guys that have been, you guys that have been in the you guys that have been in the military, what would be your first reaction? I'm curious about this. If you saw somebody wearing a legit military hat that did not speak English.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we saw today. An army hat by a guy that did not speak any English.
Don?
Well, that's far from being fully fledged out in uniform. They found that it was down San Diego. They found that bunch of illegals trying to sneak over the border in Marine Corps uniforms.
Even with the hat, though, that is definitely wrong.
No, you know what? So here's where I stand on that. I don't care. And I don't care because it does fall in the First Amendment. So you have stolen valor. The difference between that and stolen valor would be the ones that wear our uniform and try to make a profit off it. That's to me is stolen valor. Anyone can go to a surplus store and buy a beret, a patrol cap, our jacket, our pants, our boots. It's their right. Do I get upset? No, I don't.
No. They do not. They don't have the right to wear anything military unless they've served. I'm sorry, but that's my opinion.
No, and that's fine.
It's your fault because you decided to talk about this topic tonight.
That's fine. Tonight's our veteran show. That's it. Politics fell into it, and so be it.
It used to be against the law to wear military clothing that still had the patches and the rank and stuff on it. Whatever happened to that? I mean, I saw when I was growing up in the 70s, all the heads wore the M65, the Vietnam M65 field jackets. Either their dads brought them back, or back then you could buy them pretty cheap at the Army surplus store. And I have seen, police make kids stop in the street and cut the military patches off of their sleeves. It was, whether it was really a law or just growing up in my part of southwestern Michigan, they were jackwagon cops, but a lot of them. But still, I saw a guy the other day walking down the street, honest to God, in a full dress uniform with facial hair, beard, and hair down to his shoulders. So there's no way that guy was an active duty Army soldier.
Yeah, but Markham, that could have
been me. But he was decked out in a full Class A uniform.
That could have been me wearing my uniform.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But
This guy was too young.
No. So my point is, how do you know that wasn't his uniform, and how do you know he didn't serve and he's a veteran? He got out. He, like me, he's got a beard and he's got long hair, and he put his old uniform on.
I'd have asked him.
I don't know. I just got a vibe that's not. I got the vibe that it was some local community college kid.
And it probably was.
He didn't have the bearing. If you're wearing your uniform, just out of habit, you're going to have a specific bearing.
And
when it's on, whether it's conscious or unconscious, when you're wearing that uniform that you wore for damn near 20 years, there's going to be a complete difference to your carriage than this guy I saw.
Well, you're going to walk straight.
See the pride.
You're going to walk straight.
Yeah.
And you're going to have your fingers curled. I can guarantee it.
You're going to see the pride of the uniform. Yes.
You're going to get some kind of tell, because I saw this one woman one time. She followed Chris into the medical center, and I saw the uniform, and then she got indoors and took her cover off. It's like, oh, there's a legit military woman right there.
Okay, so we're going out of control in the chat room. So Tim, calm down. We're fine. We're not going to talk about the Catholic Church. Sorry, Jeff. So everyone meet Jeff. He's new to the chat. And yeah, this is not a typical S4 show tonight. I already told you that when we were talking earlier before the show, like at 9 o'clock. We usually don't talk politics in S4, but it kind of fell in with a veteran show. And I do agree with you, Tim. We don't belong in the Middle East. That should have been done a long time ago. We're about to go to war with Iran, which is the last thing we want to do. We go to war with Iran, we can kiss our ass goodbye. Both countries have nuclear weapons. I can assure you of that. They will be used if we step on Iran's toes. Well, really, I've got friends that were Turkish Air Force, Air Force, Special Forces. And, we used to be friends with Turkey. Not anymore. I'm reading Homeland Security reports in their why are we pissing off our allies? Stop pissing off our allies. It's just like, I tell people all the time, stop watching news. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of them are corrupt. I don't give a damn what side of the fence you fall in politically, but all media sources are corrupt. They are bought off by the particular party, the particular side of the fence that they support. They're all full of shit.
Yep.
If you want to be concerned about your own community. That's what you need to be doing. That's why I run a community group. That's why I push emergency management, disaster preparedness, things of that nature. That's what you need to be getting ready for. Not just extremists. I'm not worried about terrorism. I really ain't. I'm more worried about volcanoes, earthquakes, landslides, wildfires, drought, things that are actually going to affect us up here. That's what should be worried
Yep.
about. Now, when all of a sudden the government says, oh, we're not going to pay the VA anymore, and they start affecting my paycheck, that's when I'll be worried about it. And that may happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
But, you know, get to know your neighbors. Get to know your community, because they're the ones that's going to have your back, not the government. And it doesn't matter.
Well, plus if you need to move around where you have a community. I mean, worst place to live is a city right now, because it's going to be like rats. They're going to turn on each other like rats in these big cities.
Well, that's why I live in the mountains.
Exactly.
And that's why you need to move. Get over here, Markham.
I do. I really do.
I want to bring up one more thing about veterans before we go to another break. Is recognition. I've talked to a few people that I've talked to about my father's service and stuff, and you know, he died, like I said before, of Agent Orange, and you know, none of his recognition medals came to the house until after he passed. And that's a lot of people I hear that from. And that's another thing that needs to be corrected in this country. These soldiers are out doing what they do, and for such a long term, like my dad was, you know, they need to be recognized and be able to see their medals before something happens to them. That, again, Eric, is where you need more concentration in this veteran in the United States to get this stuff done.
You know, we've got Veterans Day, we have Memorial Day, and I bet you there's not a day. You could go through Cedro Woolley and Seattle and couldn't find a dozen people that could tell you the difference.
No. And
I mean, how many people out on the street know that Memorial Day is a solemn holiday? It shouldn't be a party type of thing. We're celebrating a remembrance of all those soldiers that died storming the beaches of Normandy on D-Day.
Do you remember when they used to get poppies out?
Watch the opening of Saving Private Ryan.
Exactly.
That's what this day is commemorating.
That's why I never say Happy Memorial Day or anything. It's have a good one. Have a good Memorial Day. I never say Happy Memorial Day.
And that was the reason I changed the show tonight. Because it's Memorial Day weekend, and I got tired of seeing people, oh, wow, the pool's open today. Oh, wow, we're going to go camping. Well, I get that. That's cool. It's a perfect family, 4-day weekend. But do you know the true meaning, the true reason for Memorial Day?
Yep.
But doesn't that again fall under your First Amendment rights? Like, why did these guys give up their lives then? What was the point?
So that everybody would have a First Amendment rights.
To go and do what they want with their families, to celebrate with their families that aren't going to war right now.
No, I agree. Don't get me wrong. I agree. But if you ask these same people, why are they able to camp? And why are they doing what they're doing for Memorial Day? Do they know why they're celebrating Memorial Day? My kids know. And you know what? I was proud of my daughter. She came home from school last week, and she asked me, what's Memorial Day? Do I have anyone in our family that served and died at war? Or served and died? They don't have to have died at war. But do we have anyone in the family that served and has died? And I said, yeah. And she said, I want to go to the cemetery and see their grave.
Oh.
That was the proudest, I swear to God, other than Veterans Day, when they asked me to come to their class. That was cool. But it made me proud. She actually knows the difference.
That's cool.
More than most adults, apparently.
Yeah.
And I'm trying not to cry. I really am, and not because of that, but I'll be going to several different cemeteries on Monday.
Yep, us too.
I will agree with you that this country needs, honestly, a kick in the ass. Yeah. It really does. Like, okay, I'm a Canadian. When I am more patriotic about this country, this flag, the military service here, than most of the people I meet on the street here, that's honestly straight up pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Canadian. Why am I teaching my kids who are American citizens about this country's wars and this country's sacrifices?
You shouldn't have to. That should be taught in school.
Right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You look
I can
at
tell you.
Pearl Harbor in a history book right now. It's one paragraph.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's sad.
Well, I can tell you, the concrete school does teach, at least in the elementary. They do teach what the holidays are, what Veterans Day is, what Memorial Day is. They know. When my kid, who I've never explained, had never had a chance to explain to her what Memorial Day was, comes home from school and asks me from school, that tells me they're teaching.
Yep.
And I agree.
It's just sad.
I
will say,
Cole.
I think that's because Concrete School District, I know for a fact, at least 3 of the teachers are vets.
Right. But, you know, and I bring that up because Jeff was asking me earlier about the Concrete School District and how the schools here are. And I explained to him, I've had no problem in the 2 years our kids have been in this school. Some parents would disagree because, well, I'm not even going to comment on that, but you know, everyone's got their opinion, everyone's got their perception. Me personally, we've never had a problem with that school in the last 2 years. So it might even be 3 years. I don't know. They're growing up too fast.
Well, and you have the different generations too. That's always going to affect. I mean, people that are younger than me are going to have a different idea of it. And again, I was raised in a house where I knew that, you know, my dad was driving military trucks and there was a grenade hit and his friend next to him got killed. You know, I know some of the stories that happened, and kids nowadays, well, of course, there's different wars and stuff, but you can see how society changes things and society changes people's thoughts. Like where I could go into a cemetery and see all these different flags, and I could honestly be sincere and feel sorry for every single veteran that is laid to rest in that cemetery. Some people go in and they're just concentrated on maybe their own, or they go in, oh, that's nice, but you just don't have the togetherness, if that's even a word, to feel for the veterans and what they've done, you know, putting their life on the line, and then they've lost it, or like you said, they've lost their arms, lost their legs, lost their mind, or even had illnesses like Agent Orange. I mean, military veterans have my 150% respect, every single one of them. And it's sad that they go to fight for this country and the country doesn't treat them right.
Okay.
Should they be treated better? Should military people be treated better than regular civilians? Hell yes.
We hold them to a higher standard, therefore they should be.
That's right.
I want to bring Don in on this because you still here, Don?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Just making sure he's sitting back listening. So, you know, Veterans Day, I expect people to say, thank you for your service. It happens all the time. I don't expect it, don't get me wrong, but that's when I expect it to happen, not Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time with that. That's just me personally. I don't know how to react. I don't know how to respond. To me, it was just a job. To me, I enjoyed it. It was, you know, I don't know how to even explain it. Do you feel the same way, Don, or how do you take it when people come up to you and say thank you for your service?
It's awkward.
Okay, I'm not the only one then.
Yeah, no, it's like, okay, what do you want me to do? Just like start heel kicking and saying thank you, or do you want me to be humble? I don't know what they want me to do, so it's like socially, it's awkward as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Brent says it to people all the time. That usually older men is what we see.
When I see a hat, I'll think it.
Yeah, and he always thanks them. And you know, this, I'm just being sappy tonight, but that's another sad thing. Sometimes you see these older men that are like completely surprised, like nobody's ever said that to them before.
One guy has told me, "Oh man, nobody's ever said that,"
and that's wrong.
Yeah,
it is.
It's very wrong. I mean, you guys made the choice to enlist. You made the choice to put your life on the line for this country and for all of the citizens. And people should come up out of respect and basically say, thank you for your choice. You know, thank you for your choice of protecting us.
And that's where the awkwardness comes in, because it was my choice.
Yes.
Nobody twisted my arm to go to combat. And I said, I would do it all over again. There's nothing I regret, and there's nothing that I would change. I made that choice. I pay for it, yes. I have nightmares every damn night. I can't watch Army movies. I can't watch military movies. Izzy won't let me watch military movies. So, yeah. Does it suck? Yes, it does, because I love war movies. But I can't watch them. I have nightmares every fucking night. And, you know, so it was my choice. And as I said, I wouldn't change it. So it's awkward to me having a complete stranger who probably never served, because veterans generally don't say thank you for your service to other veterans. Some of them do.
Right.
I find that awkward because I served, you served. You know, thank you for going to Vietnam. I went to Iraq and Somalia. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It's just awkward.
Well, it makes me uncomfortable because I was a peacetime. I mean, we blew, let's see, to put it in perspective, Anwar Sadat was assassinated while I was in boot camp. The year before that, I think it was VF-84 off of the USS Nimitz spliced the two MiGs. But by and large, there was no declared war. There was some saber rattling, and my mom freaked out when we were doing our med cruise because we were in the Gulf, and, you know, Gaddafi was threatening to blow up the Nimitz and turn the Gulf into a Gulf of blood, which wasn't going to happen, but Mom didn't know that. So when I see somebody who did go to Somalia, somebody who went to Vietnam, somebody who went to the Gulf, to me, those are the veterans. I was just a farm boy out of Michigan that didn't know what else to do, so he bobbed around on an aircraft carrier for a few years until, technically I'm a veteran, but no, I didn't see combat.
But
as close to combat as we came was pulling into the bay and seeing Lebanon from the shore.
But here's my answer to that. You made the choice to serve, and I know damn well, knowing you, if they had said, hey, we're going to go land on the beaches over there, we're going to combat, you would have said, hell yeah, where's my weapon? And you would have gone.
Exactly.
That's my answer to that.
That's the only thing I would change. I would still go into the military right out of high school. The only difference is I would have chosen to. If I could set the Wayback Machine, I would either have gone into the Army or gone into the Air Force. Or, I would have gone into one of those two, probably the Air Force. Okay. Because I think it would have been a better career choice. I'd have probably retired out of a different service. I chose the Navy because there was 4 generations of Markhams have been in the Navy. Oh, wow. So it was a traditional thing.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we will carry on our conversation. I know this is a very unique show tonight. I think we're getting a lot of discussion in there. Next week, we will be talking, it'll be another unique show. No paranormal until June, but June 1st, we'll be talking fires, droughts, basically disaster preparedness for the coming summer. So, Concrete and Upriver is a high wildfire hazard zone, so we need to discuss that. We need to talk about hydration, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, things of that nature. That needs to be done before we actually start getting into 90, 100-degree weather. It's supposed to be 80s tomorrow and Monday. So great for Memorial Day. But anyway, we will be back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Come get spooked at the 4th Annual Forest Moon Paracon in Cedar-Woolley, Washington, Saturday, September 28th. UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot. Speakers include Mike Morin and Jason Jordan, R. Keith Andrews, and Dave Scott from Spaced Out Radio, and so much more. There will be workshops and a VIP roundtable. Get early bird tickets now at fmparacon.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI Team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI Team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI Team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro. Join us on September 28th at the Cedar-Woolley Community Center for 2019 Forest Moon Paranormal Paracon. VIP All Access passes on sale now at fmparacon.com. Your pass includes all-day admission to see the speakers and workshops, the Ghost Walk, a special VIP workshop, a special round table with the speakers, a Paracon t-shirt, and an FMP Paracon swag bag. These tickets can be purchased from fmparacon.com. Get yours today.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4. Tonight it's our Veterans Memorial Day special, and it's a very interesting show to say the least. So we're talking about veterans issues, we're talking about politics, and how veterans need to be more involved, and I would completely agree with that. So you can also find the archives for S4 at our Spreaker site and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you've missed in the last 3 years. Anyway, back to the show. So I know there was stuff we were going to talk about. You got to refresh my memory now. My old ass memory ain't that great.
I don't know, but I do have another question for you.
Okay.
Military dogs. Do they are considered soldiers, correct?
Yes, they are. Very much so.
Do they get good? Do they get recognition and stuff if something happens to them in the line of duty?
They get a military funeral.
Oh, good.
I mean that's hands down. If you want a good movie, watch Megan Levy.
Oh, okay.
Excellent
and I think
movie.
They get vet benefits too, don't they? Like they get serviced at a veterinarian hospital for free.
Oh, they have no. So we actually have our own veterinarians in the Army.
Oh.
Yeah, and you just take them back there.
Right. Now, so originally, veterinarians were in the Army to service cavalry horses.
Cavalry?
Mm-hmm.
And, I love the cavalry. The cav was probably the best time in the Army. Alon's, Joe, if you're listening, but he was a Black Horse contractor. But another aspect of what the Veterinary Service Corps does in the military is their meat inspectors. So, yes, there are veterinary services in the military. They are the ones that handle most of the Army or military canines. And, yeah, you're going to see a whole different perspective of military canines watching Megan Levy. That movie actually made me kind of cry, too. Good movie. Basically, she got hurt. She wanted to keep her dog, but in the Marines, because that was a Marine dog, the Marine dogs they belonged to the Marines, so they weren't going to let her take her dog because he still needed to go to combat, and she was medically evacuated. So, yeah, you're going to see a completely different side of military dogs in that movie.
Okay.
But yes, they are a part of the military. They are treated like soldiers, and yeah, they're honored.
Good.
And well trained.
Yes.
So actually, today I don't watch TV a lot, but we've been at Mom and Dad's a lot, taking care of Dad. But we wound up watching. Oh God, what was so help me out here, Markham. They decommissioned the aircraft carrier. I think it was the Missouri.
No, it would have been called aircraft carrier. Wouldn't have been called a state. That would have been a battleship. They've decommissioned the America, the Lexington. Oh Lord, the Enterprise. Which was the first nuke.
No, so it was an aircraft carrier that went to Desert Storm. When it came back from Desert Storm, they decommissioned it because it had already been to, I think, World War II or Vietnam.
That sounds like the Lexington, maybe.
It doesn't sound
No, the Lexington never went there.
I swear
Hang
it
on,
was.
I got a specimen.
I swear it was a Missouri.
Missouri's a battleship.
Is it? Okay, I don't know anything
Yeah,
about
Missouri, New Jersey. Yeah, if it's named after a state. Now they did do that. First Gulf War, they mobilized They spent billions getting the Jersey and I think it was the Missouri.
Okay, it was a Missouri.
Seaworthy.
It was
and
Missouri
then mothballed them as soon as they got back.
Yeah. So they actually had a dog competition on the Missouri. And when they got done with the dog competition, they had to run through all these obstacle courses and whatnot, best of breed and all this. They actually had military canines come out, and they actually talked about the training the military canines went through and what they were trained in and whatnot. It was really interesting. So with the MPs, they have different units, just like civilian police do. They have the patrol unit, they have the canine unit, they have special investigations. I mean, so yeah, they have a specific canine unit within the military. That's all they do, is canine. You still with me, Don?
Yep.
You ain't falling asleep, are you?
Oh, no.
So you were in Talifar with me, and where did you deploy anymore after the Iraq tour?
No, I left out of the military then.
Okay.
After that, I got back 2007.
And Don was a sniper for his infantry platoon.
I was not infantry, cavalry.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right. I tell you, I'm getting too old for this shit. Yeah, you were second Cav, weren't you?
No,
first?
I was in the 1st Armored Division.
Okay. Now, did you have sniper training to become the platoon sniper?
No, I got kind of dicked out of that one. The platoon sergeant had us do a qualification, and whoever got the best rifle score would go to sniper school, and I did. And he sent me off to go do something else, and chose 2 other people when I was gone. So I didn't go to sniper school. I was just good at shooting.
Excellent. I still tell people, yep, you know what? You piss me off. I've got a sniper in California. He's going to be up here in a heartbeat. But
yeah,
yep. Oh,
that was a sad story. That sniper, that Chris, I can't remember his last name. Chris Kyle. Yeah.
Yeah, that was American Sniper. That was, yeah.
Yeah.
Another good movie. And you know what? There was so much shit that got talked about him. In fact, I think, if I remember right, there was an altercation with Jesse Ventura involved in that.
Really?
I believe so. I'd have to research that again. But even Jesse Ventura came out and talked a bunch of crap about him.
About Chris? Why?
Well, that pretty much did Jesse Ventura's career in, too. He shot his mouth off and said some very denigrating things to Chris Kyle's widow. And when's the last time you heard from Jesse Ventura?
Yeah.
He shot his mouth off and destroyed his career.
Well, there was
what he had left of it.
So there was a lot of question as far as how many Chris Kyle actually killed, and that's really what started. You're just talking a bunch of shit. Well, actually, you know what? He's still a sniper. Who cares if he killed 200 in the line of duty versus 150? It really doesn't matter. He did his job and he did it well.
Yeah, as long as he killed one and kept one of his platoon mates from getting shot, he did his job.
Well, I have no doubt that he killed a lot in the line of duty. Now, did he exaggerate
Eric,
that?
you saw that.
Say again?
Eric, you saw that movie.
Yes, I did.
How close was that to reality?
Oh, God. So in Iraq, when I was there, they had Iraqi snipers that were shooting within... Do you remember hearing the stats, Don? I know I heard one story where they actually took a helicopter out. They sniped the pilot.
No, I don't know the stats. No.
Did you hear that?
Wow. No, I didn't hear that at all.
Okay. That's when I was in Balad 0405. Oh, Don. So I do have a paranormal question for you. Were you there with the group when we saw the UFO that was going over Syria?
No.
Damn it. Okay.
That would have been freaking phenomenal, but no, I was not there.
Damn it. Yeah, because there was about 30 of us, and we saw this UFO like every night about the same time for about a week straight. And, you know, we had two aircraft crew chiefs, and we had an aircraft mechanic. So they know aircraft quite well. And even they were going, nah, it's not one of ours. The light patterns are off. It's not moving right. And, you know, when you have aircraft personnel sitting there verifying what you're seeing and verifying that, yes, it is not conventional aircraft. It's not one of ours. It could be experimental craft. I'm not saying it was alien by any means, but it definitely wasn't conventional. It could have been experimental. But it was there and it was gone. It was triangular shaped. The light patterns were not conventional, and it didn't move conventional. So, damn it.
No, I would have died with like freaking awe on that. Like I would love to see that shit because I've not before.
You know, Tila got a video of it, but I can't contact Tila. I can't reach him, and he probably doesn't have the video anymore. But yeah, that was my third UFO sighting. But anyway, getting back to snipers. Yes, it was so all snipers, and Don can vouch for this too, it's 2 personnel per sniper team. A sniper's always got basically a wingman or an individual that's with them to help them with windage, to help them with distance, things of that nature, correct?
Yeah, they're called a spotter.
There you go. Wasn't my MOS, wasn't my specialty, so I don't know these things. But
How long was your sniper school, Don?
I never went. I was unfortunately passed up on that opportunity. So I never went there. I just knew basically how to shoot really well. So I had the M24. I wasn't qualified to carry the 50 cal sniper rifle.
The Barrett.
The M24 is a step down.
It's still good enough to do the job.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was just curious on how long their training is.
I
think it was 2 weeks.
That sounds right.
Oh.
I was about to say, I think sniper school is like 2 weeks, but it's intense shooting. It's all you do is shoot and know your weapon.
Yep.
And learn how to move without moving.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but the Iraqis actually had some very good snipers. So, yes, the need for having snipers was important. So, Jeff's got a question. In the vastness of space, do you think we are the minority waiting to be revealed? We're definitely not the minority. There's hundreds of races that have been observing this planet for sometimes, in some cases, depending on the race, thousands of years. So are we the minority? No, we're just the defunct, dysfunctional children that they're watching to destroy ourselves.
Pretty much.
I think we're just a reality TV show.
You know what? That's been said before.
There was a Twilight Zone episode probably about 20 years ago. I think it was called A Small Talent for War. All these spaceships land, and they're like, we're going to, annihilate your entire species. And the UN says, oh, please, just give us a chance. And they, the whole world bands together and signs this humongous peace treaty. Well, it turns out the aliens didn't want peace. They wanted warriors. And we failed miserably. It's like, yeah, see, in your heart of hearts, you want peace. You're no good, you're no use to us. So they destroyed the whole planet, the entire population, start over again. I've always wondered, as warlike and just totally evil as humans can be, maybe we are somebody's, planet full of sea monkeys. Just waiting to see who comes up at the top.
Right. So
Eric and Don, I got a quick question for you. Like I said, my dad was military. I don't know nothing about it. Brent was never put into action in deployment. When you're out there, and you can just tell me if it bothers bringing it back up, but I'm just curious, when you're out there fighting, what is the worst thing you think? I mean, could it be your combat boots rubbing wrong on your feet? Is it dust? Is it wind? Is it sleep deprivation? What do you think the worst thing is that you go through when you're out there fighting?
Piss poor leadership.
The weight. If
the weight.
Physically, the weight of all the stuff on you.
Yeah, well, whatever's bothering your actual physical body. What's the worst condition? Is it dust in your eyes? Is it, the heat? What do you think the worst thing is?
I just think it's the equipment and the heat.
Yeah. And imagine 120 degrees and you've got all this gear on you. Well, the gear is actually pulling in an additional 20 degrees. So during the summer
and then
months,
they tell you to put on a mop suit.
Yeah, I've done that before. So,
jeez.
In the summertime, you're looking at 100, and I've got a picture of a thermometer, but it gets to 140 degrees, to the point that if you didn't have a mission to run, for example, our maintenance team, we got up at 7 a.m., we worked till noon, we went into our trailers. Now, in 0405, they really didn't. No, they did. I think that was a new concept. They had what's called a CHU. It stands for a civilian housing unit. And they were basically two-room trailers, or two-man trailers. And instead of staying in tents, we stayed in CHUs. Now, if you were actually in an infantry unit and you actually had missions to run, oftentimes they stayed in abandoned houses in a village. But if you had a CHU, you had air conditioning, you had heat, because believe it or not, you go from 140 degrees during the day, 60 or 70 degrees might sound nice now here, but that's a drastic drop. So,
wow.
Yeah, when you're talking Iraq, the extremities of that country, between the temperatures, between the dust storms, and if you've seen The Mummy and you see that big wall of dirt that he makes come down, that's a typical dust storm. And you don't stay outside for a dust storm. It's like a wall of dirt that comes down and fills your mouth with dirt.
Wow. Don, did you ever have any paranormal things happen to you when you were in deployment?
There was a couple of times when I was at guard duty in the second tower where we were at. A few times every now and again, I'd hear some rocks being thrown underneath it, or in the floor below the roof, and it was a negative feeling the entire time. And I would basically would race up the center of the list, just racing up to the guard duty. I've never wanted to go to a post of danger more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain. Like, it was a feeling, and then it was a few times hearing pebbles and stuff being tossed in the bottom. Now, that could have been bullets ricocheting, but, you know, I didn't hear the zip, so I don't know.
Right. And that was that in Telefar?
Yeah, that was in Telefar.
And how tall was the tower?
I'd say 3 stories.
Okay.
Actually,
yeah.
two stories with a roof.
Yeah, those are okay. They're the same type towers that we had in Balad as well, and yeah, they're about 30 foot tall.
Oh no, these aren't the same. It was a building. It was not a actual tower. It was.
Oh, okay.
It was in a building.
Okay. Yeah, because.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Leave it to me to ask the dumb question, but I'm going to.
Okay.
I've always been curious about football players when they're out there on the field and they're in the middle of this game and they have to pee. What do? So I had my answer for that. Now I'm going to ask you, when you're out there fighting and you got to pee, what'd you do?
You did.
You just did?
Yep.
Yeah, if you're in the truck, you do it in the Gatorade bottle. If you're out in the middle of whatever, you got your person watching your back, you can just go on the side of a building.
Well, you see, being a female, we worry about that, you know.
So imagine being in a truck for 3 days, not straight, but for like up to 8 hours a day, and you're in a convoy. You can't pull over because you can't leave that convoy.
Right.
So, yeah, we had water bottles.
Oh.
Or out the turret.
Yeah.
If you could do it out
Fire.
there, you were a gymnast.
So I promised Tim that we'd talk about infrastructure because he was bringing it up towards the end of the last hour. So we'll talk about infrastructure. And he's worried about the power grid. So they have basically handheld EMP devices that are available. That if you go near the power grid, if you go near a cell phone tower, things of that nature, it's like the size of a flashlight and it creates an EMP. So if you have infrastructure that's not secure, there's not armed guards, there's not, any way of stopping someone that's suspicious, they can take out the power grid. And I'm not sure if Tim is still here. Tim's got to be here. I know Tim's listening. I know he's got a question. So I don't know where he wants to go with infrastructure, but but anyway. So yes, convoys. So we took a convoy, and that's why I explain it that way, because we actually did a convoy for 3 days from from Doha, Kuwait to Balad, Iraq, where we drove for about 8 hours, and we stopped. And they put me in a truck. And actually, when we got to Doha, the intel was that the Iraqis were running piano wire across the highway to cut the gunner's head off. And they were dropping grenades off overpasses So imagine coming back from a year in Iraq and trying to drive down I-5. After you've been trained to swerve lanes when you go under overpasses so that you don't have grenades dropping off you from the top.
Don't you get some sort of a D something
Debrief?
after your... Yeah.
Not really, and there's no way to debrief a year of dodging overpasses.
No, but that's where the counseling and stuff should come in. And
yeah,
how come they don't?
So let's talk about PTSD symptoms, because we haven't talked about that. After you have some sort of, and PTSD can be worse with longer trauma. So if you have like sequential trauma, you know, like you over and over and over again, it's going to be worse. If you're deployed several times, you know, it's exposure. And so what you end up with are kind of a constellation of symptoms that it's an anxiety disorder. It's in that category. The symptoms have to last longer than a month, and they include intrusive thoughts of, you know, you don't summon these thoughts of the incident or whatever happened. They just come back on you like a flashback or a memory or in dreams. Another symptom is that you try to avoid triggers. So that's kind of what you were talking about with the overpasses. You know, and these are things that our mind does automatically to keep us safe. So, I mean, you know, like if you're in a bad incident, learning teaches us to avoid that incident in the future. And another symptom is like mood and behavior changes. So if you're generally an upbeat, positive person, you can develop a dark outlook or a loss of interest in things that you still, you know, enjoy. And then behavior changes like aggression or self-destruction or anger or that sort of thing.
Does that put them into a depression, Francie?
It can.
Depression is part of PTSD.
Yeah. Yeah. So in treatment, the newest form, okay, so the VA is the go-to for PTSD information now. So, you know, they've got bulletins and they've written research articles. So what they have found is there are several different methods of counseling that are helpful. Cognitive behavioral therapy is kind of the go-to. And then some of the newer stuff is like for some people, and Eric and I have talked about this, it's not done for everybody, but exposure therapy is one method that is very effective.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It is.
So
research shows that it is.
So they
but,
tried.
I mean,
they tried exposure therapy, and I snapped. And
well, yeah, it's not for everybody.
Exactly.
And it's not for every PTSD situation. So, you know, it's not for everybody. But if it does work, it works amazingly. And then EMDR, which is the rapid eye movement desensitization, which is weird. They don't really understand why it works, but it is quite effective in pretty much eliminating PTSD symptoms in some people. So,
when you go through,
go ahead. Go ahead.
When, like Eric and Dawn, when you went through training, did you feel different being trained as a soldier than being a civilian, first of all? Do you feel like a different type of a person after your training?
Yes.
And, okay. Then why wouldn't the military, when you get out, like put you through some sort of a training to re-civilianize you?
So,
does that make sense?
So the Army has a program that they put you through when you're getting out. It doesn't desensitize you. It doesn't prepare you for civilian life in that don't dodge the overpass. It teaches you how to write a resume. It teaches you how to look for employment, things of that nature. That's what they focus you on. They don't.
But not emotion.
No.
I have a theory about.
There is no
about
required.
That.
Go ahead.
I have a theory. Okay, so during World War II and World War I, troops came back by ship, did they not? Like across the ocean. It took a while to get home.
It took about a month.
So they had all of that time. It was like a decompression chamber in a way. They had all of that time to talk and kind of get their shit together before they came home. In Vietnam, we flew people home. They were in the war zone, and then, hours later they were home.
Which is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Would make
that's what I'm saying. If they train them a certain way to be soldiers, they should reverse that. That affects them hugely mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not done.
Well, it should be.
Until you snap and something happens. Then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose, and then they actually come after you.
See, that's not right.
And I'm not going to get into what I went through with my ex, because not even going to go that direction. But a lot of domestic violence cases that happen in the military, and I'm not going to say a percentage, but I know quite a few, myself included. The soldier is always wrong. Whether you were the one that got hurt, whether you were the one that got stabbed by your spouse, you're a soldier, so you must have done it. That's exactly how you're treated.
But that's not right. That's not your fault from what you mentally went through. I don't know. Right. It's just all screwed up.
You're absolutely right. And, you have a lot of spouses. And again, I want to clarify, not all domestic violence is wrong. My spouse at the time actually had domestic violence charges against her for trying to instigate me. And
that happens a lot, honestly.
It does. I know a lot of soldiers that went through the same thing I did. So, again, I don't want to get personal. I don't want to get into it. But, it actually almost made me ecstatic when the local law enforcement, instead of coming after me because I'm the one who had the bruise on my face, walked her out in handcuffs. And the cop himself said, you know what? I'm sick of military spouses because they always try to make the soldier get in trouble. That came straight from a cop.
Well, and if you think about it, I personally don't know anybody, but I could just imagine that if there's somebody that was out on deployment and they come back to their spouse, and let's say after all of their defensive training that you guys have gone through, what if the spouse or somebody comes at them in a certain way? Then you're going to act on what you have been taught to do. So how is that your fault?
It's not. That aspect
No,
isn't.
it's not.
Now,
Because the federal government trained you to be defensive, but the state will lock you up. Now
that
that's
happens.
really a screwed up government.
And that does happen a lot. And
Yeah.
again, I want to clarify, I'm not saying all soldiers are innocent, because by all means, there's a lot of domestic violence cases where it is the soldier's fault. And it does come from their training.
Right.
It does come from them drinking too much, and they snap, and and it goes south from there. But there
Right.
are a lot of cases where the soldier is the innocent victim, is the domestic violence victim, and the spouse, because they're female in those cases, gets off the hook.
Where if maybe that soldier would have had some debriefing correctly, it may never have happened.
Yes and no in
You
some
don't know.
cases.
Yeah,
Or
I
the-
mean, some cases.
Or the spouse is the
Or
one
it
that gets
could have
caught.
been lessened.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was
It's not
just
right.
I was just fortunate enough to have psychiatric officers that read between the lines and saw through the bullshit, and actually convinced me and told me, look, this shit happens all the time, and you need to look at what's really going on. And coming from a colonel, that means a lot.
Yeah.
So, so you guys, what do you think about? I want your opinion on this. People sitting for the national anthem, for the flag, for the colors.
First Amendment right?
Hmm?
Say again?
I think it's a First Amendment right, but I don't agree with it, but it's a First Amendment right to protest.
You talking about the football players that take a knee, or people that sit down for the
Yeah.
national anthem? I have no problem with it.
Any? Really?
Nope. I think it's a First Amendment right. I went and fought for that First Amendment right, and if that's how they feel, they're using it to protest for their own particular gain, which is what the case is in those situations. It's their right. It's their First Amendment right, and who am I to? I'm with Don. I don't agree with it, but if we punish them, if we protest them, then where's the First Amendment stand there? We're taking away the constitutional right that we fought for.
The Constitution of the United States of America, which the emblem is the American flag. So why not get off your ass and stand for it? I'm sorry, but that's my
It's a private
opinion.
company, though.
Hmm?
It's a private company. It's not from the government.
Well, yeah, but
I have a different take on it. It's his right to take a knee in disrespect and basically slap every veteran that's ever died, every soldier that's ever died, every veteran that's ever served with his penis on national TV. He can, However, it is exactly my right to call him on it. It is my right to boycott. It is my right to.
And it looks like Skype quit on us here. So we only have 15 minutes left of the show, but I'm going to try to get Skype back up here. And it usually doesn't shut down on me here. And Trip, we'll get to your question here real quick. I'm really not sure about the particular case you're talking about. We already actually talked earlier on the show about war criminals being, and criminals should never be pardoned, for one. They're war criminals for a reason, and they were actually imprisoned based on a jury of their peers. So by pardoning them, you're actually slapping soldiers in the face. So that's where we stand on that. And I'm trying to get our panel here back in. For the last 15 minutes of the show. All right, are we back in? Skype shut down on us here.
Hello.
Skype shut down on us.
Well, that's annoying for you.
Right? It's usually my cell phone. But anyway.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Yeah. Hold on.
Megan Gearing is not available.
No.
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options. To leave a callback number, press 5.
As soon as possible. Have a good day.
There we go. I'm very sorry, folks.
So are we still live?
Yes, we are still live. Don, you still with
people?
us? We still got Don in here? I don't think we have Don in here. All right, who we got in here?
Well, Eric got dropped.
Okay. And yes, folks, I know we only have 15 minutes left here. Done. And let's see here.
Jeff, we are not calling you Don.
Yeah, Skype shut down. Let's see. So, yeah, I want Don in here for that question that Tripp asked. Because maybe he's more familiar. Maybe you're more familiar about the sniper that was accused of war crimes. Cole, did you hear about that?
No, honestly, no, I don't know anything about that, unfortunately.
Okay. Oh, the Navy SEAL. Okay, so yes, I've got to say the Navy SEAL that was charged with war crimes, yes, his own team charged him, and he is a war criminal. If he's been charged as a war criminal, he should not be pardoned. That's a slap in the face to all veterans, all active duty, and shouldn't happen. You know, and I'm not going to bring up I don't like bringing up politics, but that's coming from a president that's been a draft dodger, that's avoided war, and shouldn't have any say in military affairs to begin with.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That, you know, he shouldn't have any business in military anything. Yes, he is the commander-in-chief. People argue about that. All right, Don, you back?
I'm back.
All right. Yeah, Skype shut down.
I'm sorry?
Skype shut down. So we're back. No. We only have 10 minutes left of the show, but you know what? We'll
You have reached the maximum time permitted for recording your message.
Your
If
recording
you're
has
satisfied
reached
with
the
the message,
maximum
press
length.
1. To
To
listen
replay
to
your
your message,
message,
press 2.
1.
To erase
To
and
delete and
re-record,
re-record your
press
message,
3.
press
To
3.
continue recording
For
where you left
delivery options,
off, press 4.
To send a fax, press 6.
To cancel this message, press star. To send this message
If you're
now,
satisfied
press
with the message,
pound
press
or
1.
hang up.
To listen to
Who
your
is that?
message, press 2. To erase and re-record, press 3. To continue recording...
To replay your message, press 1. To delete and re-record your message, press 3.
Okay. There we go. Oh, God, I hate technology. I really do sometimes. Hold on a sec here. Don, you still with me?
Yep.
I think it's just you and me.
Oh, okay.
All right. Hold on a sec here.
Where did we leave off? Because
Yeah. 9505. I need to get that person out of here anyway.
All right, I'm back.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up the show. We've got 10 minutes left. I'm trying to get everybody in for the last 10 minutes at least. And yes, it's been a very relaxed show tonight, folks. And I can't help technology either.
Yep.
Yeah, and Trip is in the chat room. It's qualified as an official show tonight. Yes, it has. Most definitely. Usually, so for the new folks, it's usually my call that drops when I'm on another show and doing cell phone.
It's part of the risk about living in the mountains.
It is. Well, I don't even know if it's that. It's just Skype. Skype is a problem for everybody.
yeah, that's why I like, I don't know, just on the phone kind of thing.
Hello.
There you are. Now we only have 10 minutes left for the show, and 7 minutes actually.
Did Skype vomit on us?
Yep, Skype shut down.
Yeah. Well, it's not an official episode of S4 unless somebody gets dropped or Skype crashes.
Exactly. I just don't like who Skype called back in.
So how bad is it up there now, temperature-wise?
Well, it's
I was
supposed to
amazed
be-
when I came last summer to visit you guys how frickin' hot
It's
it
supposed
gets.
to be 80 degrees tomorrow or Monday.
Wow.
So do we have Chris?
The nice thing about it up there is it cools off so well at night.
Yes.
All right. So we only have like 6 minutes left of the show. But, you know, I want Don's opinion on this as well. And I'm really not sure. So the SEAL team member that is being pardoned. So that was brought up by Trip in the chat room. We discussed it earlier, the first hour of the show. But you know what? If someone's been charged for a war crime, there should be no pardon. That, to me, is the worst of the military. They've been charged with a war crime because they've broken military values. We have a high standard of Army values that we live by. And if they've broken them and actually been charged for a war crime, like I said at the beginning of the show, that's not somebody who broke the rules of engagement and took out an insurgent that was shooting at the convoy or whatever the case is. This is somebody that went above and beyond, that violated human rights for essentially. And if their actual team is going to turn on them, and they're going to be tried by a jury of their peers, that's a war criminal. And you don't want them on the streets.
I think the whole idea of having rules, I think the reason you have so many vets committing suicide, so much PTSD, is you're sent into a no-win situation. The Army's job is to go in, kill things, and blow shit up.
Mm-hmm.
And all this pussyfooting around, all this bureaucratic bullshit that they've saddled the soldiers with, that whole hearts and minds thing like you were talking about, that's not the Army's job. The Army's job is to kill the other side. Plain and simple.
Well, that's why politicians don't belong in war.
Absolutely right.
You use your war powers, Congress either agrees with them or vetoes them, and we roll in. We roll in and we get the job done, we come home.
Well, that's the way it should be. Anymore, you're going into these no-win situations with you hamstrung and handcuffed. It's almost down to the point where the only thing you're allowed to use is harsh language. It's garbage the way things are happening now.
It is, and Jeff's in the chat room. He says it's not that simple, and I completely agree. It's not that simple. But when we're actually in a country doing our job, then you have politicians that step up and say, "Oh no, we need to do it this way." The politician's not there.
Right.
The politician's got no idea what's going on. He might be getting reports. He might be talking to the generals in charge. But even the general half the time isn't there, boots on ground. He's sitting in a comfy building somewhere getting reports himself. They have no idea. They have no clue what's going on.
They're trying to make war look civilized or look, I don't know, they're trying to turn a horse turd into a rose, and it can't be done.
No.
War is a nasty business. You're killing people. You're blowing up their homes. You're blowing up their country. Trying to paint that with a rosy glow, it's not going to happen. It can't.
And we have 2 minutes left before we have to shut down studio. So, do vets like it when civilians try to simplify war? There is no simplifying war. So, no.
Nope.
War is not simple. But here's where I stand, too. If you haven't seen Fahrenheit 9/11, watch Fahrenheit 9/11. At the end of the movie, in the last hour of that movie, Michael Moore actually went to Congress with a Marine recruiter. And he asked all the congressmen that were coming out that had children of military age if they would sign their kids up for the military. Half of them ignored him and kept on walking. The other half said, "Oh, no, hell no." I remember being in Iraq when, Bush's daughters were being arrested for drinking underage. Going, really? Put them in the military. And anyway, on that note, we'll see y'all next week. Have a good week. And Jeff, you and I need to get together for coffee. For sure, and we'll talk. And thank you, crew, for coming in tonight. Next week, we're talking natural disasters for the summertime. We're talking fires, wildfires, drought. Things to keep you safe during the summertime. If you're local listening, June 6th is our, June 9th, rather, is our community meeting. And we'll actually have the fire marshal in to talk burn ban, things of that nature. So, yeah, y'all have a good night. Have a safe week.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.